Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News Weekend. It's been 5 years in the making, and now a highly anticipated health facility in the Northwest Territories capital is set to open. Our reporter Charlotte Mort-Jacobs brings us that story.
Kliwagunti, meaning Skinny Fish Lake, is a massive retrofit of the former Territorial Hospital in Yellowknife, and it's gearing up to open this month. It will have extended housing and long-term care for residents, as well as primary care and outpatient rehabilitation services. Here's an individual room where residents can choose to bring items for their memory box. Director of Continuing Care of the Northwest Territories Health and Social Services Authority, Lisa Raynar, says residents can bring their own furniture or use the basic furniture provided, and they are equipped with medical gases like oxygen. In total, there's 90 beds, 16 for extended care, increasing the capacity by 6 beds compared to the current unit at Stanton Territorial Hospital. The increase in beds should completely clear the wait list for extended care. A new feature, the 4 family rooms for residents from out of town who need a place to stay when visiting, and or to be used when a loved one is dying, and families will cycle through.
It's things that we've heard in the past about if people try to come to visit, they only do it when they come for medical travel, because then their accommodations and their travel's kind of covered. So if we can also have some people be able to afford to come and visit family members and try and facilitate visitation as much as possible.
Kliwagunti is complete with living and dining room areas where residents can choose what they want to eat. A spa room complete with a lift into tub and sink for washing and cutting hair. And common rooms like a spiritual room and an activity room and outdoor patio space.
As I said, extended care residents currently don't have access to outdoors, and because we're up on a 2nd and 3rd floor, it's not easy access, so having the patios is a huge feature. We know how important the land is, being outdoors is to our Indigenous residents, and so this was in the way that we can.
Raynar says they are implementing input from surveys across the north about the need for more country food.
If they wanted to, or if we get enough of a donation that our food service people can also prepare large quantities. It gives us something as well for the Indigenous Wellness Program that we know has worked really well at Stanton Hospital, that I know sometimes they do caribou stew and bannock on like a Friday, and so it gives them a space that they could use that's like a commercial grade kitchen.
Lastly, the first floor is for public health needs, complete with a reception area, primary care units, and 36 exam rooms. Each room has a printer, scale, and height measurement tool, so staff will not have to leave the room for those tasks. It's also the first time rehabilitation services will fall under the same roof, including a physiotherapy gym, private treatment rooms, and sound booths, occupational therapy, physiotherapy, speech-language pathology, child development, and audiology. First floor services will move in this month. Early July, staff and patients from extended care will transfer over, and finally, long-term care once the wait list is processed. Charlotte Mort-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
Thousands of people across Canada are still celebrating for Rebecca Strong. She was crowned the winner of Canada's Got Talent with the strong and beautiful performance. She's made history as the first ever Indigenous woman to win the competition, and she also is $1 million richer. APTN video journalist Rachel May caught up with Rebecca on her win and what's next.
Rebecca, you have just won $1 million! Last night, Rebecca Strong from Prince Albert took the Canada's Got Talent stage by storm with her performance of Rolling in the Deep by Adele. Strong said that when she got to the final 2, she had to remind herself to take a deep breath.
I had a lot of emotions going through me. I was mentally preparing myself for either losing and winning, but I was just happy to be up there.
As the first Indigenous woman to ever win Canada's Got Talent, Strong says she hopes Indigenous youth take this as a sign they can accomplish their dreams.
But I just want my Indigenous youth to change the world and become mainstream. And I want everyone to incorporate their culture in all of their art and be proud of where they come from.
As for what she's planning to spend the $1 million on, first a hot pink truck, and then helping her family pursue their dreams.
A recording studio is very important. I want to be able to record my music. And my sister and my dad's, they make music as well. So that'd be very awesome that I could help them as well.
Strong says she's hoping to record a debut album with original songs as soon as she can, then hit the road for a tour. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
And there will be a homecoming celebration for Rebecca Strong taking place on Monday, May 20th at 3 p.m. at the Prince Albert Exhibition Centre in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. What a bash that will be. A 21-year-old Algonquin artist has been on a natural high since his work was recognized by a well-known Indigenous actress. APTN's Annette Francis caught up with the young artist at his home on the Kitigan-Zibi First Nation in Quebec. He was with the man who taught him how to put pencil to paper.
Gabriel Ottawa and his father Dean share in their love of art.
So for some reason, one of the first pieces I taught him how to do an eye.
Dean is not just Gabriel's dad, he's his first art teacher. When Gabriel was 10, Dean bought him an art table. He's been using it ever since and come a long way. Last week, his portrait of award-winning actress Lily Gladstone went viral on social media.
When she shared it on her post, I sent a DM and I just sent a message saying, like, thank you so much, like, I really appreciate this. But I didn't think she was going to open it, you know, like. So then she responded back and we just had a conversation and we were both just thanking each other basically. And
in spite of that big boost to his ego, Ottawa says art is a form of therapy from his daytime job. He works in his community as a substance abuse counselor, which is sometimes taxing.
It's so therapeutic when you're sitting there and you're listening to your music and you just have kind of like you're just rethinking about your day or you're thinking about the movie or something. It's a complete, I don't know what the proper word is, but kind of like not a distraction, but a really good form of therapy.
Ottawa's dad is a mental health worker. His creative outlet is painting paddles.
I'll do my artwork just to come off from work, and then I'll join my family for supper or whatever, and then I'll jump back on my table, and then that's the end of my day. He'll start his artwork late at night. He's up all night, and then when I get up in the morning, I see what he's accomplished.
A cure for stress is why he's encouraged art all these years.
We have a daughter too as well who is also a counselor, and she also does her own artwork, doing beadwork, sewing, crafts, birch bark. So we've kind of made sure they've always had some kind of art to fall back on. And it really helps them, it grounds them as well.
Ottawa says he's still on cloud 9. He's not sure where he wants to go with his talent.
It's hard to say if I want to get into galleries and things like that. Part of me really wants to get a lot of attention, you know, sometimes we crave that. But at the same time, I'm very happy where I'm at with it. I just like making stuff, and if there's, I do it mainly for myself, and if somebody's interested in buying a painting of a character or something along those lines, I'm like, just have it, you know.
Ottawa's next goal is to attend the Ottawa Comic-Con with some of his finished portraits. Annette Francis, APTN National News, Kitigan-Zibi, Quebec.
Stunning work. After the break, we'll introduce you to an Indigenous birding club in Winnipeg. Stick around. Welcome back. Métis artist Jenny Crouchy recently won the Manitoba Arts Council Award of Distinction. Our reporter Sierra Benton sat down with Crouchy to discuss her work and legacy.
There's something about beadwork and something about doing beadwork that just brings you back to who you are and to be proud of who you are.
For over 40 years, Janine Crouchy has dedicated her life to sharing the art of Métis beadwork with the world. This week, the Manitoba Arts Council honored Crouchy with their 2024 Award of Distinction. The $30,000 prize is given annually to an artist who embodies both artistic excellence and community service. Audrey Dwyer, the director of granting, said Crouchy was a perfect candidate.
When it comes to the Manitoba Arts Council, we want to award someone who not only exceeds artistic excellence, but also contributes to the development of art in Manitoba, which is something that Janine also does.
Crouchy, a Red River Métis woman, learned to bead from her mother, Jenny Meyer. To date, Crouchy's work has been displayed at the Winnipeg Art Gallery, Canadian Museum for Human Rights, and on 2 Royal Canadian Mint collector's coins. However, in Canadian institutions, beadwork wasn't always celebrated.
Our beadwork was kept in drawers at museums, and every once in a while somebody'd be interested and pull that drawer out and have a look.
But Crouchy says there's been a surge of interest in beadwork, and more young people are eager to learn it. For Crouchy, beadwork is a collaborative medium. As she watches the new generation of beadworkers flourish, she dedicates the award to them and the women that paved the way.
The women that came before us that did this beautiful work, and they never got the recognition for it. So in a lot of ways, I dedicate this award to them, because without them, I wouldn't be doing what I do now.
Next week, Crouchy's work will be featured at the Radical Stitch exhibition at the National Gallery of Canada in Ottawa. Sierra Bettens, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Congrats. In Winnipeg, an Indigenous birding club at the University of Manitoba is helping people connect with nature while sharing Indigenous knowledge. Here again is our reporter Sierra Bettens, who recently joined the club on their weekly walk.
House sparrow, female house sparrow, right there. So you just want to kind of just zone in, relax, and then all of a sudden you'll see a weird little movement or a call, and then you try to find it with your binoculars. And then
spring has sprung at the University of Manitoba, and that means the raucous Canada geese have returned to their seasonal home. But if you listen closely, dozens of bird varieties can be heard, and the folks who run the university's Indigenous Birding Club are helping people tune in.
It's simple what we do. It's just connecting people and nature for all the benefits that brings. So the mental benefits, the emotional, physical, and the spiritual.
Last May, Bailey Hendry and Justin Rasmussen, both Métis, founded the U of M Indigenous Birding Club. Every Thursday, the birders meet in front of the Luriel statue at the Mikizi Agamik Lounge. For 90 minutes, participants can decompress, connect with nature, and glean Indigenous knowledge of birds.
Throughout the pandemic, birding kind of just became a thing for a lot of people. And I was, talking to Justin, and I was like, I feel like it would just be an awesome thing to combine the two and bring them here as an opportunity for students to engage in community, culture, and birding together.
Rasmussen holds a PhD in biological sciences and a lifelong fascination with birds. Hendry, who works at the Indigenous Student Centre, started birding during the pandemic. As one of the first Indigenous birding clubs in Canada, the organizers stress the importance of community, engaging with elders, and promoting Indigenous knowledge of birds.
We've had knowledge about birds for hundreds and hundreds of years, and we also have a lot of elders in our community who hold that knowledge. So one of the things that we do and what we've done is we've brought elders from the community to do teachings about birds. There was an event that we held for people to come and harvest an eagle together, and we heard about eagle teachings and so forth. So there's lots of opportunities for them to engage, and obviously the geese agree with me.
During walks, organizers reject having a guide. Instead, they encourage participation and collaboration.
We try to change the dynamic of having one expert sharing knowledge, and instead we go out as a group as equals, and everyone has something to share, and we all learn from each other.
Coming up on their one-year anniversary, the club continues to provide a space for people to learn and just be.
When we shed our titles and just become humans out there appreciating nature, we feel that that's where like real relationships can form.
Sierra Buttons, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
A special gathering was held at the First Nations University of Canada that brought in award-winning Indigenous journalists to speak to this year's students, leaving many excited about the future of Indigenous journalism. CTV's Mick Fable has more.
Indigenous journalism, its past, its present, and its future, all in one room. 2 separate one-day conferences took place at the First Nations University of Canada, both focused on storytelling. Journalists with decades of experience have helped shape the journalism landscape in the province and beyond. For students like Randy LaRocque from Lumsden, learning the ropes is an incredible opportunity. She's thrilled to sit, listen, and learn.
Just hearing these people and their stories is something so awesome to hear, and being able to connect and even hear their stories and just seeing how far they've come.
To cap off day one, a special talk was conducted by award-winning journalist Connie Walker, a member of Okanese First Nation. She talked about her Stolen podcast series. One in particular about her own father's experience at residential school left many in the audience moved.
Made me tear up hearing the stories from the Stolen podcast. It was honestly a little bit heart-wrenching to hear, and I had to have a good cry in the car after we left the venue and everything like that. And so I'd say my main takeaway is just learning and absorbing as much knowledge as I can.
Samuel Tippowin from Wichikin is a film student studying in Los Angeles. He's partaking in the Indigenous Communication Arts Summer Institute. He sees the value of Indigenous people telling Indigenous stories.
It has to be authentic. It has to have that root. It has to have that lineage in order for it to come out fully. We're reclaiming that right now. And I see this conference being a form of reconciliation.
The main focus of day one was about decolonization of journalism, while day two, journalists who have won the prestigious Michener Award spoke about their experiences navigating through some of the biggest Indigenous-focused stories of recent years.
It's a good reminder that we're always growing and learning and finding new ways to tell stories and finding new passions and pursuits. Sometimes I think we forget as journalists that there are so many ways for us to be passionate about our work.
Sharing of stories is not new to Indigenous people. Long before first contact, there were ways of sharing information with others long distances away. Runners, as they were called, carried the vital information of their people to their neighbors throughout the year. Elder Harry Francis sees the runners of the past as an early media person, having the ability to communicate effectively, telling both the good news and the bad news. The runner would travel almost non-stop for days, usually after the winter months.
They welcomed him. He may have rested for a day or two and fed him because he was probably went long periods of time without eating. And then when he was rested, they would, somebody from the community would pick up an eagle wing or eagle feather and give it to him. And he would take it and he would hold it. And then the people would gather and he would start telling of the events that had happened in his camp where he spent the winter.
As the conference came to a close, many participants left feeling positive about where Indigenous journalism is going and the many possibilities.
It's not just about watching and not being part. We have an opportunity today that we've never had in the past to be participants in that storytelling in one way or another, whether it's commenting online or finding all these other things. And I think here we have that.
The conference may have been the first of its kind in Regina, but it likely won't be the last, as the need for effective storytelling will always be high in demand.
And a huge congrats to the upcoming grads. Well, it's been a good week for the literary world, especially in Saskatchewan. We'll tell you why after the break. Welcome back. The Saskatchewan Book Awards announced their winners this week, and Indigenous talent swept the competition. A Métis organization and a Métis author took home 4 awards collectively. Reporter Rachel May sat down with the winners.
Repatriating these items is an act of reconciliation because it's recognizing okay, under what circumstances were those pieces ending up elsewhere?
Karen Schmann is the Director of Métis Culture and Heritage at the Gabrielle Dumont Institute Press, who published the award-winning book Our Grandmother's Hands, Repatriating Métis Material Arts by Gregory Schofield. The book focuses on bringing Métis artwork back to where it originates and having it correctly attributed to Métis artists.
Because Métis haven't had recognition until 1982 in the Constitution, so many of our pieces that exist elsewhere are called Plains Cree or, Indigenous people or whatever, very generic term.
The Gabrielle Dumont Institute won 2 Saskatchewan Book Awards, the Publishing and Education Award and the Indigenous Peoples Publishing Award. Author John Brady MacDonald also received 2 Saskatchewan Book Awards, Best Nonfiction and the Indigenous Peoples Writing Award for his book, Carrying It Forward. He says the book is a series of essays about his experiences growing up and being looked at as a knowledge carrier.
Being uncomfortable with that, being uncomfortable being looked at upon in that way, and really sharing my thoughts and feelings on a variety of subjects regarding the Indigenous experience of the 21st century.
Brady MacDonald says stories and experiences aren't ours to keep, but instead to pass on, and wants to dedicate the award to anyone who continues to pass along this knowledge. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
And a big congrats. The community of La Loche in northern Saskatchewan is sharing more Dene stories. The second volume of the Dene Strong series has brought together the community to share tales of courage, resilience, and wisdom. Here again is Rachel May, who sat down with the people behind the book.
We need to showcase that we are proud of who we are, and that our future generations need to know that we were proud, our ancestors were proud.
Land, Language and Culture Coordinator at La Loche Dene High School, Shane Janvier, says his home community has a lot of stories to tell. Dene Strong, too, has 16 stories translated to English to showcase their community's spirit. He says this book is about language, healing, and preserving culture.
We fought so hard just to keep our language, our traditions, our culture alive till today. And I still hold that, I still hold that in my heart. I still believe that my culture is strong.
Editor Marianne Neal volunteers with Indigenous communities across Canada and worked with Janvier on both volumes of Dene Strong. She says once they finished Volume 1, she saw the need for even more written stories.
Because I think we're just getting started. Really, there's so many stories that are yet untold, and the elders are getting older. And a lot of the stories are dying with them.
This second book features pictures taken in La Loche and a glossary of Dene words and phrases. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
And that is all the time we have for your APTN National News this weekend. Stay up to date with news anytime by visiting our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy McGuitch, thanks for being with us. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.